We might as well get started then.
Let's do it.
Hello, we are, what are we, episode 13, the unlucky episode.
Oh, yay.
We are back with my friend Yukino McHugh, commonly known as Kino. Good friend of mine for what, how long, 2, 3, 4, 3 years?
I want to say like 3 now.
3 years.
2 years here, and I met you before I moved.
True. Yeah, like 6 months or so before.
Yeah.
So we've been good friends for a while now. Kino is a fantastic dancer, choreographer, performer. How would you describe what you do? Contemporary?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I always feel like I have a problem with this.
Yeah, I think everyone does, huh?
Right? Yeah, contemporary mixed with some sort of like other styles. I would love to say like popping, but I feel like it's my own style of like learning how to isolate my body and just make quick movements.
But would you say you take a lot of influence from popping?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine to say, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember like learning popping for the first time, not really understanding it quite well. But like in Australia, like we don't get a lot of like foundation classes. And there was like one guy that came from like America, and he taught us like one class of popping. And I just remember like as well when I was young, like it was only a few YouTube tutorials that you could find. So I'd like go home and like make up my own exercises and like just drill what I thought was popping, you know? So I don't know, like I wouldn't like technically be able to say I feel like what I do is popping, but it's what my version of.
Yeah, well, I guess that's contextual as well. Like, you don't have to say whether it is or isn't popping until you get asked to put it into a format where it's like a competition or teaching a class of popping. Like, as long as you're using it for your influence, it's like, it doesn't really matter where it comes from, you know?
Yeah. Totally.
Cool. So you've been in the UK 2 years now.
Yes.
Where are you originally from? Tell me your background.
My background.
For all the people out there listening.
For all the peeps.
all the 7 listeners I have at the moment.
Hey, I'm one of them. Okay. So I was born in Japan, and then I moved to Australia when I was 8 years old. And then I lived in Australia, until I moved to the UK. So I spent, I guess, majority of my life in Australia.
Okay. How long were you in Japan for?
Until I was 8. So 8 years.
Okay. And because you speak fluent Japanese, right?
Yeah, like pretty fluent.
Right.
Like I still speak kind of like a 3rd year level because.
What you mean? Like
just like elementary school.
Oh, okay,
like,
right.
Yeah, because I moved when I was so young, and then like, so I sound like super normal when I speak. There's not a lot of like accents, but I don't know a lot of like complicated words.
Okay.
So like, if I go to like, I don't know, government office, then I'm like,
right.
I don't know what's going on.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting.
Learned something new today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and then so what made you move to the UK then? How did that come about?
I just remember watching like what my friends were doing when they moved to the UK. So like Zoe Marsh, like one of my friends from Australia, few people were just like dancing in the UK. Even my best friend Astral, she came to the UK for a bit, and I just saw what they were doing, and I was like, oh, that looks really amazing. And I just wanted to go traveling as well to the, to Europe. And then I just went to the UK for like a few weeks. And
is that when we met? That trip?
Yeah. I feel like that is. Yeah. Yes.
Because you weren't here for that long, I think. Yeah.
No, and that's how we met. Because
you came from Canada, right?
Yeah, exactly. So then I just ended up coming here for a few weeks to just see what it's going to be like. And it just felt really like natural. Like I didn't plan anything. I just took a few classes and it felt really right in my body. And I loved what was going on in Europe. And I think just the idea of being able to go to Europe anytime was like really cool. Like, because for us in Australia, it's like, it's crazy to think that you can go overseas that quickly.
Right. Yeah.
I still loved, I took a flight recently, like 2 days ago from Czech to here.
Yeah.
And they're like, flight duration is an hour and 20 minutes. I was like, I'm not even out of the state in Australia. Like, it's crazy. So I think just that idea was so amazing. And yeah.
Yeah. And I guess also the good thing with Europe is like, even outside of work wise, because technically like what you said, like the borders are a lot closer and you can be over in a different country, but also the culture differs. You still have quite like
So
European
much.
culture, but you can see something in Spain and then Italy and then Czech, and it's all going to be kind of different versions.
Super different.
For probably not that much money compared to what you'd have to do to leave Australia to see something different.
So much.
So where do you guys go on holiday? Like if you're from Australia, like where would you go to experience different cultures then? For us, we would like pop over to France or
Just casually.
just casually pop into Paris, you know.
Oh, bit of croissant. No, it's so sick. But like in Australia, like we would usually just like go within Australia. It's pretty cool. And that's the beautiful thing about Australia as well. It's like in Australia, it's so beautiful. So, I think we would go like if you're from Sydney, Melbourne, Gold Coast, stuff like that. But as well, we'd go to like Indonesia a lot, I feel. Indonesia, Thailand, New Zealand, just like around, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah,
Fair.
Within Australia is pretty cool already.
Yeah,
so.
you've got enough stuff there that you don't have to leave. I guess that's the problem with England as well, like especially like weather-wise and stuff. Like we need to go somewhere to get a good holiday.
That's for sure.
Yeah. So tell me about the UK. So you've been here 2 years. I feel like, especially like, I feel like I've been a bit closer into your journey than maybe the average person. But I feel like you've had a pretty fucking good like run of it for 2 years. From coming from like, did you know a lot of people when you first came?
Not like you. Literally.
Well, you're welcome. It was all because of me. No, but so you knew me and maybe like one or two other people from here already.
Who did I know? I feel like I didn't know anyone. I'm trying to think. Like I knew a family friend.
Right.
I knew Alice Robinson, who like moved basically at the same time.
Right.
So that was really good because I felt like I had someone to kind of like share these kind of like experiences with and like, just...
But not someone who was already here, like set up to help you necessarily.
No, not really, I feel.
So you've gone from just having moved over here to like, if we look at all the top stuff you've done, it's like pretty good. Like you had a regular class that was like packed pretty much, or you had enough people.
Yeah, but remember that time?
Which time?
When I messaged you, it was the best thing ever. Because remember that time I was like, Luke, I had one person for my class and I had to pay to teach.
Yeah.
And I was so devastated. Oh man.
Yeah, but this is like, like, I mean, you can always find the lows, I guess.
Yeah.
There's always the behind the scenes and shit like that. But I think, talking
so
in terms
sick.
of like what you've been able to achieve in the 2 years, like, do you feel overall pretty like, I killed it kind of thing?
Yeah, like, I think I'm still kind of, like looking back on it and just like, it's kind of hard to believe that it went so well.
Yeah.
Because I came with like absolutely no expectation, and I felt like my journey with dance at that point, to be honest, that little trip that you met me on when I was traveling through Europe, I was at a point where I had just given up dance and I was just kind of seeing if dance would be interested in coming back in my life.
Okay.
That sounds weird, but
no.
I kind of wanted to give in with give up trying to control what dance, trying to give up on controlling what dance is in my life.
Right.
Because I felt like for a long time I had like this vision and this one-way street of like what dance should be and what that success looks like. And when I achieved that, I was really unhappy. So I just kind of like let it go, and I just started doing like just simple things in life.
Because that was like the sort of time of like So You Think You Can Dance and stuff, right? So what was this, just quickly, what was the story of that? Like you got to like quite high up?
Yeah, well, I did I got into top 20.
Okay.
And then I think I made it into like top 14.
This is So You Think You Can Dance in Australia.
Yeah. So then like that was a really interesting journey. Like again, I just wouldn't take it back because it's, you know, obviously like even though it was a very hard time, it made me who I am. But it taught me a lot. You know, I was 19 and it's like, it's something that I was dreaming since I was like 12 years old. So
I think a lot of people dream about those sort of things, like being on TV. And,
yeah, exactly. But you don't mentally prepare for things. Like there was a lot of things, I guess, like that I didn't know production wise that they do to kind of like, you know, generate story and stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I
like,
think
what sort of thing?
Just like they'll kind of like, you know, they'll kind of like
dramatizing the situations.
Exactly. Like they'll kind of plan stories ahead and stuff like that, just so that, you know, obviously there's some sort of story and there's some sort of direction to it.
Yeah.
And I think overall, I think I just like really struggled with the pressure. You know, I just, as a 19-year-old, and that was like my first big job that I ever got. I just like, I guess in the UK it's college.
Yeah, right.
So I did like 1 year of like, we call it full-time dance.
Okay.
And I came out of that when I was 19 and I got that job straight away.
Right,
so
right.
I had like no experience of like, you know, dancing with a camera, but I had like 20 cameras on me. Right. Not understanding how to, you know, work that or anything, and like that pressure of like if you know mess up then the whole world sees it. So it was like a lot of pressure, I think, as a 19-year-old, and I think it taught me a lot about like how those success or like what you frame as success sometimes isn't what you think it's going to be emotionally. You know, like, so yeah, I don't know, like I had a very like hard time, and I just decided to kind of let go of like what dance was. I think also just purpose. Like I didn't understand my purpose at the time. I think I just try to do jobs like that because it's known to be a successful thing. Like, you know, everyone's like, if you do that, then you've made it. And then it's like sometimes when you get to that place where you like apparently have made it and everything, like you kind of expect it to be like a step up movie.
Yeah.
You know, and you're like, yes.
This is when the credits roll and everything's happy after that. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, where's my credits?
Yeah. And you're like, oh shit, I've got to pay rent. What do I do now?
Exactly.
So do you think there was anything that you could have had like educational guidance or anything that would have equipped you to deal with that better? Was there something that do you think is missing or was missing from your journey that could have helped that not happen? Or is it kind of just, it's just what it is?
Yes and no. I feel like not so much, because I had teachers kind of warn me about that.
Yeah.
They were like, just so you know, it's a really intense journey and you have to be very prepared emotionally. But how can you do that? Like, it's just not possible. Yeah, it's experience, you know, and I think that's the beauty of it as well. But I think maybe something that could have helped was I feel like sometimes it's good to teach dancers to understand the business side of dance, you know, how to treat it more like a business, because I think we're so afraid to do that. It's like we're so afraid to, I don't know, detach from how we have to like approach, I don't know, like work and still and then like not be affected as an artist. I feel like they're very like different things that you have to learn how to like make a very healthy relationship in that gap to
because sometimes they are separate, where it's like, oh, this I'm just doing this purely because of the money and it's nothing to do with my art, or it's like you're doing something for free because it's so artistically fulfilling that you don't need it to be work. But then also you have the middle ground where it's like, if you start selling your stuff, you have to be able to marry them up and be able to talk about your work in a business way and advertise yourself. And
totally. Yeah, because like I feel like with So Think, like that was a really good lesson that I learned, was like, I think business wise, you know, I guess I saw it as like how do I approach my choreography, my artistic view, whilst making it relatable for the general public.
Yeah,
and that
this is such a huge thing, I think, across all of dance, like that when we don't speak about. So yeah.
And I feel like that's a really hard place to be, because, and every time I ask myself this question, I always think, okay, you know, someone like John Lennon, it's like he's somehow been able to find a way to use his music in such a simple way that anyone can understand. But he's still, as an artist, like that foundation of what he stands for, and his purpose still stands. And so like that was really interesting for me to learn. So how do I not lose who I am, but still speak the words I want to speak?
Yeah.
So that was really interesting.
From my observation, I think that's something you're pretty good at, because I feel like you.
Hello.
Well, yeah, I feel like you're the way you move and your choreography is very unique, and I think that's also become your selling point. And I think this is, there's like a hard kind of mix to hit, where it's like you can try and be a business person and change your art and make it relatable, but then you can go accidentally down the avenue of just looking like everyone else and trying to sell your stuff. Or you can go down the other thing where you become so niche that it's like, unless you're an expert in whatever specific thing you're doing, no one cares, kind of thing. And you're just like, okay, I guess that's cool if I knew what you were doing. But then there's a middle ground where it's like you can find a way to market and package who you are and sell that. And that's where I think you've hit a real nice sweet spot. And I think that gives you an advantage as well, because no one can, if you can find out how to do that, no one can beat you. Like no one else can, like if I'm thinking in dance, if we're talking, obviously there's different when you're getting hired for a job where you have to do choreography or fit in. But in terms of teaching on a camp, or being like part of something where you have to have a unique role and bring something separate to it. There's no one else that can replace you if you're the only person that does you. So like if I'm looking at a teaching camp and I'm hiring, I'll be like, okay, there's like 3 people that do this type of thing. So I have to choose one of them. Then I have to choose 3 people that do like teach popping, and 3 people that, and then, Kino. Okay, well, I'll hire Kino. There's no one else that I'm going to be like, I can't hire you because I have no money. But do you know what I mean? It's like there's no one else I'd group into with you to make that decision.
Oh,
you know what I mean? Because it's like, and I think good people are like that. Like you even have, like people like Frankie J. You know Frankie, right? Yeah. With hip hop, with house. I mean. Yeah. He teaches house, which a lot of other people do, but there's no one that's quite has the same identity as him.
Totally.
So again, I think this is why he teaches on a lot of camps and stuff, is that he's that guy that does that. And also being a specialist in house separates him from all the other choreography teachers, because it already brings the numbers down. So I think the less the more you remove yourself from other people, actually the more chances you're going to get to be hired, because you're the only person they can go to for that specific thing or to that level, I think this is kind of the what we were saying earlier about like the gap of what things aren't taught. Maybe I think there's a bit of a lack of business education in the dance scene.
I think so. And it's like I feel like we're so afraid to approach it, like exactly what you said. It's like I always see it as like, why can't we also make the business side of it artistic? Like I see that as,
that's a good point.
I really try and see that as like an art. Like how can I market my product, which is me, and I always say this to like so many of my friends or like students who are so afraid to approach themselves as a business and to market themselves. We've had this conversation as well briefly, but it's like, okay, if I was the CEO of Pepsi, for example, and I want to market my product, then I wouldn't be afraid to market myself, right? But it's like, because we're artists and the product is us, we feel so afraid to approach it and to share what we have. But I think, obviously you don't have to do it like Pepsi, because, maybe your purpose is very different, which I totally agree. So that's when I kind of try and think like, okay, so I'm a very different brand. So how can I market myself, and how do I not be afraid to really understand the difference of my product, and where do I try and distinguish my difference from the other products? What can I give, you know, what? And I think at the end of the day, like what I try and really like make clear is my purpose. And like for me, what dance is, and I've discovered from like taking a year off from it, is like I wanted to come back to serve. So like what you said, it's like I want to be able to give something. I really, really enjoy teaching, and I love watching people discover like new things about themselves and finding, I don't know, areas of themselves that maybe they don't like usually, and then discovering that that is like what makes them unique. And then there's another side of me who just loves being a dancer and love being in a rehearsal room and just completely giving myself up for that one choreographer and serving their purpose and serving their message, you know. So it's like I really try and just be like, I don't know, open to anything, you know. Like I have my moments where I want to, you know, market myself and really be, you know, who I am, and that one single character that, like, you know, maybe is the only one character that there is in the world that makes me Kino. But it's like I'm also open to just being like, I love acting. So I feel like when I take on jobs with other choreographers, I'm like, I'm just here to like act out your story. And that feels also equally fulfilling, and I still feel like I'm just like serving, you know. So yeah, I don't know, it's like there's so many ways we can look at dance, and I think it's beautiful because I feel like it changes every day as well, you know. So.
Yeah, I think there's a few things that come into it with marketing and business in dance. Like I think one of it is like when it's us and we're the product, it's a bit different because you feel like the rejection is a rejection of you personally.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, I just got rejected from a job today.
And it's always fun.
Yeah, you read the email and you're like, oh, but like, I mean, it wasn't actually a dance job; it was something else. But it's still like
sorry
I can.
To hear that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, happens.
It does.
But yeah, but it's like that's the first part of it, is that you take, when it's dance, it's not like, oh, my skills weren't required. It's like I wasn't required, which is tough. But I think also there's other things that come into it. Like I think there's a lot of, I guess stigma is the right word, but like stigma around marketing yourself and being a business person in dance, because it's supposed to be that you're an artist that doesn't care about the money, and this glamorized idea of the struggling artist, which I think is fucking stupid.
And it's like always one side, like one or the other. I feel it's like you're either like super commercial or you're like super artistic, and you know, it's very hard to like feel, I don't know, I've always feel very like scared sometimes, you know. I mean not much anymore because I kind of just learned to not care, but it's very hard to kind of, you know, just be able to advertise.
And not feel like you're selling out as well, or
exactly
like we had the conversation about social media. Do you remember when we in
which one,
when we went to, do you remember the photo shoot we did in the rain when we were like, it was pouring down? Afterwards we were talking in the cafe and we were talking about how when you came to London you were surprised at how everyone was good at like marketing them, and on social media they'd be like sharing like, come to my class, or like check out my new video, and you said you weren't used to that type of thing.
No, and it was so up, like, I don't know, I felt so freed. Because, you know, it's like I was so afraid to post and like kind of like speak up myself. Well, that's not the right word, but like to just be confident in who you are, and you know, like and especially like Europe, I felt like there was a lot of artists who were very good at that, and I think the main point with that was like they were so good at marketing who they were, you know. And I had never seen anything like that before, where, you know, they were still like quite artistic, and, you know, but they were so good at marketing themselves without selling themselves out in a sense, right? And they were able to find this balance, but they weren't afraid to do that, and they weren't afraid to show that, which was really cool. So like even when they were when we were hanging out, we would kind of just like help each other out in the sense of like, they were like, oh, can you take this video for me, and can you take this photo? And it was really nice to kind of be open about that, because at the end of the day we're all doing the same thing. It's like those are the things that do help us, and I feel like, you know, social media is a platform. I mean, I get 90% of my work off social media, hands down. So it's like, it is a platform that any small business can benefit from now. So I don't see too much like negative thoughts about that. Obviously, there is like a whole different side where I'm like, oh, okay, this is pushing it.
Yeah, but then I think it depends on, I don't know, like, I don't really have a side that I feel negatively about. I think even like, have you seen that Insta account, the Influencers in the Wild?
No,
right. So basically, it's actually kind of funny. It's basically an Insta account where people send in videos that they've captured of like influencers or whoever out. So it'll be like a girl taking a picture of another girl like posing, and then someone captures it from their window and sends it in. So it's just all the funny like behind the scenes stuff that like you're seeing the influencers trying to capture their stuff, and sometimes it's really stupid and funny. And
right, that's cool.
It does make me laugh, but at the same time, I kind of don't like. I don't follow them anymore because I was like, people are trying to hustle and like they're trying to make money, and I'm really not against that, you know. And it's just like, it feels a bit like, oh, why are we ridiculing these people for like being out and getting their friend to take a selfie? I think there's times when you can do it wrong or it goes too far and stuff like that.
Yeah, of course. I think like the only thing, you know, obviously is like, I always think about like the little kids that are on there, and then, you know, obviously because like we didn't have that growing up, so I think it's a very different way of being brought up, and you know, I think it can really change young kids' perspective of success and happiness. And, you know, obviously like that platform is created to market products and stuff like that.
Yeah,
so
I think you have to understand that.
Exactly. So it's like, I feel like people should make sure, you know, especially if you're, you know, young, just make sure that you know what this platform is about. And that's where I think it gets very difficult, because I know what it's about. So like, you know, I understand when I'm scrolling on it what I'm looking at, but I think it's a bit hard when you're younger and you still haven't developed that sense of, you know, being able to make those decisions. But at the same time, it's just like, I think that there's like something I've really been thinking about is like, there's ego in both sides, you know. There's ego in like, from my little world, you know, there's ego within the commercial industry, and there's ego in the art industry. It's the both. And I think, you know, we can get caught up in like being judgmental in either side, and it's like, judgment is judgment, you know. It's like, I shouldn't feel so affected by someone just trying to do well in their life.
And this is the thing is like, no matter who your idols are, if you're a battler and you're in like looking up at the people winning all the battles, if you're like into contemporary or dance theater and you're looking up at like Crystal Pite or any of these people who are like at the top of their game in different places, or even like Paris Goebel, like any of these people who you think are great artists, they don't just like, they spend hours sitting down, marketing themselves, writing like things about their work that's going to go to the newspapers, contacting people, doing interviews. Like they spend a good portion of their time selling themselves. And it's not like, I think a lot of the image that we get of these successful artists is that they're so organically successful, and it's like they just put out their work and didn't look at anyone else, and suddenly like the biggest theaters or battles or whatever in the world like hired them and was like, oh my god, you're an undiscovered talent. It's like, no, they hustled to get their shit seen. And like, especially I can speak more for the battle scene, but I was talking about this years ago with someone, I can't remember who, but we were saying that like, for every, maybe less now with Insta and YouTube and stuff, but for every like one famous dancer, there's like another 10 who are as good as them at least, but you don't know about, you know? Like there's a lot of dancers, like I've been to Paris quite a few times in the battle scene and stuff, and there's people that will fucking smoke you in a cypher, but you don't see them on YouTube, and they're not winning the big battles. They're just like cypher heads. Like I was in Sweden with some people as well, and I'm like, holy shit, like I've never seen you guys on YouTube or something, but you're fucking like killers, you know? And I think that's in every place. There's choreographers that are amazing and could probably handle like choreographing for a Rihanna show or something, but they just haven't, either they haven't marketed themselves or they haven't got that lucky break or whatever. And I think it's like, if you don't, or if you underestimate the business side or the marketing side of things, it's like, sometimes your talent, not that it's not good enough, but it's just like, by itself, it's like, it's just, you know, it's a Ferrari sitting in the garage. Like you got to take it out and show it to people
analogy.
And
yeah, and you know, I guess like maybe for some people like their intentions are quite different, and that's not like what they want to do.
For sure, yeah.
You know, but I agree. It's like, you know, if those like opportunities are, you know, what you want to do, then maybe it's like it's not a bad idea. I don't know. It's very hard to kind of, I feel like, again, there's like never a right or wrong in like how you look at it. But I think I'm learning how to, like what you said, it's like I'm just learning how to open my mind up about it, because I think it's so easy to just judge it and leave it and be against it because it's not working for me, kind of thing. And I'm constantly having to open my mind and trying to see how I can organically do it with my own style, and trying to develop like my own niche, my own marketing, my own customers. Do you know what I mean? Like, because everyone has their own.
You have to find your audience. Who are the people that are for what you do, you know?
Yeah, exactly. And I think everyone actually has one. It's just like we have to really find that. And you see so many small businesses do it and see how successful they are. And I feel like the ones who actually become very successful are the ones who really understand their target audience. Yeah. You know? So
these are all the things that you miss when you don't give any time to marketing or business. Like some of the stuff that's like business 101. I never studied business or anything. I studied events, which has some aspects of that. Yeah. But some of the most basic stuff in business is like having a unique selling point. What makes you different from all your competitors and unique? Who are your target audience? What is the target? Like if you had to describe the target demographic of your choreography or your dance or whatever your product is, it's like you have to know who that is. You can't be like, oh, I just want people to like it. It's like, who likes your stuff and who is this aimed at? Even if it's yourself and it's the, you know, like for me, it's like a 30-year-old person who is into this type of stuff. You know, you have to have some sort of idea. How to communicate with people. And I think also what comes with that as well is the ideas of like professionalism and stuff like that, which I think we speak about that a bit, but I think especially young dancers don't realize how, or young creatives, let's say, how much that factors in. Because if you're not thinking about yourself as a business and you're just thinking about yourself as an artist, you're not thinking about all the times you showed up late, all the times you had to be asked twice to do something, all the times you didn't learn the choreo you were supposed to learn for the next rehearsal. Like you're just being like, well, I'm a great artist. I won that battle. I did this. I can kill this audition. And it's like, yeah, you can kill the audition beat about like I had this conversation with someone the other day, but like I am very realistic about my skills in dance, in the sense that any job I've been on, I've never been like the best. Like any battle I've been in, I've never been the best. Like you're always gonna be like
you'll be like the best at making shapes, but cool.
No, but even like the stuff that I think I'm good at, I know people who are way better than me. But that's a side point.
Okay.
But
interesting.
In terms of my art, I'm very realistic. I'm like, okay, I may not be the best person. I may not pick up this choreography the best. I may not, you know, be the best person in the battle. In terms of my professionalism, you will not find someone who has a bad story about me. Like I'm always on time. I'm always early. Like it doesn't matter how well I know the person, whether it's for free, whether it's like not. Obviously mistakes happen. I'm not saying I've never like ever been late because of something else, but I've never been late because I just didn't wake up. Whatever,
yeah, right.
You know, and if I have, I've communicated or whatever. Yeah. And in terms of professionalism isn't always about being perfect, but it's about how you carry yourself, how you speak to people, how you know, there's people like canceling last minute stuff and just not showing up for jobs. And all of this comes into, if you think about yourself as a business person, your reputation carries you as much as your art does.
Oh, 100%.
So I think there's like, again, this is a conversation we were having the other day with someone. It's like, there's a lot of dancers who are great, who I don't want to work with ever. I'm not in much of a position of power I'm not handing out jobs left, right and center. But if I ever did, there's people I know I'm not hiring who are great dancers. And there's other people who aren't as good dancers who I'm for sure hiring. Yeah,
just because of like their work ethic. And,
you can't kill a show if you're not there. Like, do you know what I mean? Or if you're an hour late for it, like you're less helpful than someone who's there from the beginning, even if they're not as good as you know?
Definitely.
So yeah, I think it's all these things that make up, like, you need to think of yourself as a business and as a product, because it's, you know, it's the same, you know, what you were saying about like the marketing person of Pepsi or whatever.
Yeah.
They can't just be like, not like delivering half deliveries, and sometimes the cans explode, and sometimes the labels and this one has Sprite in it, and it's just like there has to be a flawless product as well as marketing it well, and so I think there's no shame in, I mean, I'm always saying this to people, but there's no shame in like marketing yourself and having a brand as well. I think your brand is what is all of this stuff together, is like, who do people see you as? Do they see you as a dope dancer who's unreliable? Do they see you as someone who's versatile? Do they see you as someone who's what is it that people think when they first hear your name?
And I think like even that like what you're saying, having that work ethic and all of these things, I think it just kind of also helps with being able to respect yourself as a person. And you're so confident in your product that you're selling, so then it's like, I feel as though now, I mean, I try my best. It's always like a learning process. But, when I was younger, I used to go into auditions feeling like I need them. And it's like, oh my God, I need to be accepted. But now I try and come into the audition space with like a different headspace. Like, you need me.
Right,
like,
exactly.
You want me,
Because if no one shows up for this audition, you don't have a show.
Or like,
if you don't accept me, I'm still a dancer. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, who really needs who?
It's like, I feel like having that confidence and being like, I'm gonna make this, I will add to your work. I feel like when you have that confidence, people, I feel like you can kind of change the space.
Because we can feel that energy of like the needing energy, like,
right, you
please,
really
please.
can. And it's like when you know that you are, you've got something that you're very proud of, as in it, and like you said, it's not always just what you do, but maybe it's your work ethic and it's your energy, and you know that you're going to turn up and you're going to work so hard. Then it's like, I think again it comes back to, then you can come from a mindset that's like, I'm going to serve. And for me, I've always found that like works so much better than trying to get, and it's like, I always try and like change my mindset if, I'm going back into old patterns, and I'm like, I need something from, this experience. So I need, like, when I see myself in that headspace, I have to like try and change it up and be like, no, what can I give? What can I serve? I have this gift, of movement. So what can I do to like contribute as a person, as a being, to this experience or like to this world, And I think it's like, I don't know. I prefer to come from that headspace because then, it's also like fulfilling. It's a lot more fulfilling as well. I
think I find that hard to balance in the few times where I actually do need the money.
Of course.
When you're like, there's a few, like most 99% of my life I've done mostly like battles and stuff for fun. There's been a couple of times where I've needed the money, and that's tough to like go into a battle. Like I remember when I lost in the finals and I fucking needed that money, but like doing that is really hard. I wonder if I didn't need that money, if I would have danced better and maybe won.
Maybe,
it's because I was like, I'm so close, and like it was like, I think like £500-600 well. And I was like, I need this shit, like.
I feel like there's I don't know, I couldn't deal with that pressure in my head space. I probably would like cry.
But how do you deal with that? Say if you go into an audition and you're like, okay, you're good and you've got other options and stuff like that, so you can go into the space with this mature mindset of like, I don't need you kind of thing, I'm here to I'm the prize kind of thing. But then what about when you actually do need the money? Do you find yourself hiding it?
No, I feel like 100% most of the time I've never not felt like I like financially not needed it.
Okay, so
do you know what I mean?
So it's a constant state of like
but
balancing.
At the same time it's like I also feel like if it doesn't work out, I don't know, it sounds a little bit maybe like hippie-ish, but I do believe that like the universe will take care of that.
Okay.
At the same time, I'm just like, if this is not meant to be, it's just not meant to be, and that's completely fine. Because I've had jobs where I've pushed for it because I needed it, and it didn't turn out to be what I should, like, what made me happy. So I feel like if that's not meant to be, then I'll find something else, which is a very challenging mindset. And that's why I wanted to test it, because I thought, oh, well, that's a very like interesting mindset that I feel like only works, for people that have something to kind of like fall back on and stuff like that. And I think, there was moments where like I did fall back and, I had that little bit of like financial support or whatnot. But because I tested it, I feel like I only, you know, it was only a very few times that I actually really, really like desperately needed to like, you know, reach out for help. But besides that, I actually ended up being like, I felt like my path kind of like made a lot of sense, you know? So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I do think there is a mentality that you have to gain, especially even with going to auditions and stuff. It's like you can't be like in an audition like thinking what you're going to spend this money on. Like you have to like do an audition, leave and let it go, and it's like you get the ones you get. You can't be like, I need, you know, and you have to kind of be like, okay, if I don't get that one, there'll be another thing. If I don't and you just go to increase your chances rather than I'm going to get this one job and I have to get this one. Yeah, because it often doesn't work out like that. I still think it's the same with competitions and battles and stuff. It's like the people that, I mean, if you talk about like, say that someone like Michael Jordan in a separate thing, he scored a lot of points, but he also took a lot of shots. So his percentages weren't the best. Like I'm not talking from any facts, but in general, like he wasn't like a high percentage. It was just he took a lot of shots. So it's kind of like that with this type of thing where it's like. You can, a lot of people who are successful, you see the times they're successful, but it's like they did 8 jobs in a month, but they didn't only go to 8 auditions. Like they were auditioning like every day kind of thing. So I think it's a lot of times you just have to raise your percentage of tries, and then you obviously raise your percentage of makes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's interesting, hey. Yeah.
But yeah, if you see it like that, you're just like, oh, I'm going to these auditions just so I raise my percentage. It's not like I'm going to this audition because I have to get this audition. Like you're not going to play basketball and you're not going to score 10 out of 10. Yeah. You might score 10 baskets if you take higher amount of shots.
Totally.
Point, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, very interesting.
So let's talk about the battle opera experience, because that was it not the first time you entered a battle, but
no, it's like
close
second.
To second or
second.
So was the other one the one that we did?
Yeah,
that's mad. So
wait, the
2-on-2.
No, that was after battle opera.
No.
Yeah, because that was my third one.
What?
And I remember feeling pressure because I was like,
I thought we did that to prepare. I thought that was like, because I remember
I thought it was after. I swear, because then I felt like I had pressure to perform as well, wasn't it?
I'm pretty sure it was before, because I remember. Oh, shit, I remember thinking that this was like a warm up for you for that.
Oh, maybe. Do you reckon? I really thought it was after.
No, I'm pretty sure. Because this was Christmas this year, so we haven't battled since then.
Yeah, maybe you're
That was
right
just
then.
this Christmas just gone, battle opera.
Was it?
Or like just before? No.
Yeah, the battle. Yeah. Oh, I mean, okay, so sorry. I think maybe I'm thinking
of just the one here.
Yeah, the first round. That was my second time, and then the third one was that.
Okay, so then when you went, that would have been number 4.
Yeah.
Right. So to explain about battle opera, it was a dance battle organized by Just a Boo organization.
And Paris Opera Ballet.
And Paris Opera Ballet, and they
just opera. I don't know. Yeah.
Right, and they did a qualifier in the UK the same weekend as Just a Boo UK. Yeah. And it was an all styles battle.
Yes.
Cool. And then so you won that, and that was the second time you'd ever done a battle. Yeah. First.
Second.
What was the first one?
The random one. I think you also told me about this one, where it was at the place. And
Marceau's battle.
Yes.
Yeah, and you got to the finals.
Yeah.
Right, so you got a pretty solid battle career so far. Talking about percentages. So your first ever battle was an experimental battle that Marceau organised. Yeah. You got to the finals of that. That's pretty good.
That was fun. With the guy that I never met before.
That's
remember it was
crazy.
Yeah, 2-on-2. Yeah.
So you just hooked up with like random guy that you never met. And
I was like, because you told me about it again. Yeah. Of course, you always tell me about the battles. you send me a message. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'll give it a go. Why not? And then like I rocked up because I told you I was like, I don't have anyone to battle with, and you're like, oh, I'm sure there'll be someone.
We'll find you someone.
Yeah, and there was just one person waiting. Yeah. And I'm like, I am your partner.
Well, speaking from experience, that can often go wrong. That is like the gambling of the battle scene. If you just hook up with someone random, it's like the amount of times that I've seen people like just looking at their partner when they go into the prelim and they're like, who the fuck? I had this. I've had a couple of experiences. So like the first time I had a friend that did this in Portugal, and the guy was like super. He was a friend of a friend, and he was like, oh no, my friend's dope, like blah blah.
Yeah.
And then doing the prelim, the guy was like, who the fuck? Like he was really, really bad.
Oh, no.
Which is a bit of a shame because then you're like, you just see all your hopes and dreams for the day right go out the window.
Shit,
But yeah, at least
that
that person gets a chance. But then I also had one in Germany where I met a random guy that was a friend of a friend, and we won the whole thing. And that was great.
Cool.
And he ended up being really good.
That's awesome. I love that.
Yeah, I love when that happens. So that was like a good thing that happened for you because it could have gone the other way.
Totally. Yeah.
But at least you came with no expectations, I guess. So.
Yeah, always.
Yeah. So then, and then the second one was the UK qualifier of Battle Opera. You won. You beat Sadek in the semis. Yeah. Which he's dope. Yeah. So that's crazy.
So cool. I remember like watching him and being like, well, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
I was just like watching all these shapes and I was like, that's so fucking cool. And I forgot to like actually think about myself.
You were around,
they're like, go. I'm like, oh,
shit. I gotta do it. Oh yeah, I've got to respond.
Just like stressed out movements came out. Like, your backup stress, like none of it made sense personally for me. I'm like, you did a turn and you did a kick. It's just like I did everything that I had been trained to do with no sync. Like like none of it synced. And I was just like, what did I just do?
And who did you get in the quarter?
Sorry, what's quarter?
The first round. Because Sadek, you said, was second round?
Honestly, I could not tell you.
No, don't remember?
No.
Because I know you battled Jenny in the finals. Yeah, Sadek, and then there would have been someone else, but I don't know who.
Because I remember someone being like, oh, you're in the semi-finals. And I'm like, I?
What's a semi?
Yeah. And I'm just like, am I now? Really? That's insane. And
that's so funny.
I started to feel nervous then. So I would have known. No idea if I was in the quarter or anything.
Yeah. But that was like because I think maybe it's just me that does this, but I think a lot of battle people do this. Is like when even if it's your friend, when you hear someone won, you want to know who else entered to like judge the legitimacy of like, was this an easy walkthrough or was this like hard for them or whatever? Yeah. So I was like, when you said I think it was Jenny or something said that you won, and I was like, oh, sick. Like who else entered? And then she told me all the people, and I was like, holy shit. Like you it wasn't just like, oh, you won like a walkthrough battle. Like there was good people there.
I feel like, to be fair, like there was a lot of people I didn't have to battle.
Right, and this is the other thing. Sometimes you get the way you get the seed is like it makes it easier for you, and that other people knock each other out.
Totally.
But you, from the sounds of it, you battled some good people, and also you got through prelims, and a lot of good people didn't. So I would definitely be proud of that one. I've won battles that I shouldn't have been proud of because no one came. And I just, he was like, I'm battling a load of beginners, but I'll take the prize money. I think we've all been there, but yeah, so that's crazy that you won that.
Yeah, so insane.
Especially second battle ever.
Yeah, it's so weird.
And then so then the finals this was like February or something, right? Last year. It was quite early on in the year, just for
UK. That's right. Yeah. I feel like that was it.
And then it was not until Christmas that the finals were. So it was like there was one in a few different countries, right?
Yep.
And then all the winners were qualified for the main event.
Yeah, totally.
So basically you got a spot in the finals in Paris.
Yeah.
So then walk me through what happened in Paris.
Oh, that was sheer disappointment.
Yeah.
So basically, like, also my whole family came to support me because they're like, this is so awesome. Like, oh, I can't believe you're going to dance at this, like, cool location and all this stuff.
Your family from Japan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my sister was in Spain, but still, my parents were in Japan. And so basically, on Christmas Eve, can you imagine?
So let's set the story up. So
okay.
The battle is supposed to be on Christmas Eve.
No, Boxing Day.
On Boxing Day. So the day after Christmas is supposed to be the finals. Yeah. You get to Paris when?
I feel like I got there on like the 22nd or something like that.
Okay, so a few days before Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
With your family from Japan.
Yep.
Also, they had come to film you in Japan? What happened with that?
Yeah, which was really cool. So basically what happened was they're saying that they're going to make this documentary about us. And I'm like, well, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And then so I told them, well, I'm actually going to Japan in July. And July was like the only month that, basically she could come and film me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's this amazing lady called Cecile. And she was so beautiful. And so she came, she was like, well, I'll just come to Japan. I'm like,
sick.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was teaching a little bit, so we're like, well, let's meet up in Tokyo. And then she came to my house and like stayed, and it was like it was a really great experience. And she came to the UK after, just before, I think it was like in, I don't know, November or something. And then so then after that, we just like organized to all go to Paris. And then we were in Paris and we had a few days of vacation and we're like, oh, this is great. Like, what are we going to do for Christmas? Christmas Eve, yay, having some wines and stuff like that. And then I get this message saying that Just Taboo has been cancelled. And like Battle Opera's, like Battle Opera is off, guys. And I'm just like, what is happening? And, you know, I call up, you know, the organizers and I'm like,
who sent you the message?
I can't remember. I felt like there was like 3 people that sent it to me. It was like, you know, someone from Just Taboo, someone from Battle Opera, you know, like everyone was sending each other emails, messages. And there was like a group chat that was all in French.
Oh, fuck.
And I feel like I'm always in this situation, the only person that can't speak French. It's always like Italian or Spanish. And I'm always like stuck there like, what up, guys? What's going on?
Anyone Japanese? Anyone?
Like, it's like the only language that doesn't kind of help in that situation. But yeah, and they're like, no, it's cancelled because of the strike that they were having.
Right. So what was the deal with that?
I think from what I gathered in that whole conversation, very hard to, you know.
Because this was before COVID was cancelling stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, December. So the government in France decided to delay the pension age, like when you can get your pension.
Right.
I don't want to mess this up. I'm probably going to, but I feel like they delayed it by 20 years for the artists.
Right.
So I think it's like they could get it by the age of like 50, and then they were saying like you have to be like 70 or something like that, and they were obviously like pissed off. And so they stopped working as artists. And I think the people working at Palais Garnier, which is the venue that we were meant to perform, they were all striking and they weren't working. And basically, like, it was quite sad because the organizers like really wanted it to make it happen. And they were really like pushing for it. But they basically like had no choice because there was not enough workers for the event to go on. So
on Christmas Eve you find out that the thing for Boxing Day is cancelled. Your family
Christmas.
came from Japan.
Yep.
And you
like,
had been looking forward to this for 8 months.
Yeah, and like so stressed because I'm like, I don't battle.
Yeah, especially on a huge stage in front of like everyone.
I'm like, you know, apparently France TV is gonna like go live in this whole thing. I'm like, well, this is stressful, you know. So I've been like trying to figure out what I do and like come up with sets and stuff like that. And, you know, because I was doing Message in the Bottle at the time as well, which was really great. And I had met a lot of incredible dancers and people who battle. So like,
there's a lot of good battlers on that.
Yeah, so amazing. So, you know, I had a lot of their help and, you know, it was really good. But yeah, it just didn't happen. And I was really disappointed, obviously. And it was also like my birthday on the 27th. So it was just like all a little bit like annoying, and you know, I kind of was going through a stage of like, the fuck.
That's fucking stressful.
Yeah.
So what did you do after it was cancelled? Did you like? How did you spend your Christmas? Everyone just hung out in Paris?
Yeah. I feel like my dad was super disappointed.
Really?
Yeah, I think because like, you know, my parents don't get to see me dance that often because I moved out of home when I was 16 years old to go to like a performing arts high school, and my parents had to go to Japan to like afford it because they own a business in Japan.
Okay.
So they had to like boost it to make sure that like they can afford it kind of thing. So I feel like they don't get to really watch me too often live, you know, so I think it was quite disappointing for them. But anyways, we ended up just like, because we were already planning to go to Portugal after and just like have a nice little family vacation.
For like New Year's or?
Yeah. Because I had a like 2 weeks off for the show. So we used that time to just like chill. And yeah, it was really nice. It gave us like a family time, I guess.
Yeah, at least you got something out of it. But yeah, I guess that's got to be fucking disappointing for them and for you.
Yeah, and like there was other people there that were like, you know, like came a lot like from like further countries than we did, and like people that saved like a whole year for their family to come, and they find out like on the plane, like, or like we found out while they were flying, and they couldn't obviously tell them until they landed. And it's like, I don't know, in some ways I'm just like, I feel like, you know, it would have been nice to know before we all made those commitments. I understand it's like, you know, out of hand, you know, out of their control, but
yeah. Any word on like, are they going to try and do it again, or they just said fuck it?
have no idea. Like, I mean, you know, I think they want to, but I think now with COVID as well, it's just like,
Yeah,
who the fuck knows what's going to happen. Yeah, so.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
Well, at least you gained some new skills, I guess, with the battle stuff. And
a really cool documentary, so I'm pretty happy about that.
That was really nice, actually.
So nice.
Yeah.
I was like, this is cool.
Yeah. Damn.
I know. But hey, a little bit, I'm like, oh man, I feel like I would have been smoked, so.
Yeah, but you got there. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the qualifiers are always more like, you kind of want to win because you're like, oh, then once you get to the main competition, it's like, yeah, I'd love to win, but I don't know. Do you know what the prize was?
No.
For battle of, like, I wonder if there was a big prize or.
I'm sure there was. I don't know.
Well, I mean, there is definitely a trend of big battles not having that big of a prize money as we would think.
That sucks.
Yeah, I think because they have such a prestigious name.
Right, so it's just like if you win, it's like already such a big thing.
Like there's a few battles I've heard about and like people have told me the prize money and I'm like, for that? Like that's how much you're getting or what? It's like, Jesus. But
it's crazy, eh?
Yeah.
It's not like they can't afford it either.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole like the financial aspect of battles is a whole nother. That's a whole podcast in itself.
That's a bit of a shame because you know it's like that's a culture that needs to be supported and respected. Yeah,
I mean, but then I guess it's like we've got to do our part in standing up for that because you've got the people that are running the battles are being businessmen the same way we have been and women are being the same way we are being businessmen and women, and if they can get away with it and just have the name be and the prestige be good enough and no one complains, they're going to keep doing it.
Yeah,
why wouldn't they?
It's the same in like everything in there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like there's so many jobs that like we take on. Well,
yeah.
I used to when I was younger, you know, that you just take because you're fresh out of training and they're like exposure.
Yeah.
So it's like we all do it, you know.
Yeah.
And I think gradually you learn, but it definitely would help if we didn't do that. But it's like, it's hard to say because I've done it before as well.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, it's hard to know how we can like effectively change that. And I guess, you know, a lot of it does come to education, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, like there's so many people that don't have the opportunity to have that education. So
yeah, it's tough. That's a tough one.
It is indeed.
Just considering whether I get into that one now. Maybe not now.
Where should I go from here?
That's another hour and a half of me speaking.
I understand.
So another one of the, I guess, like highlights in terms of work-wise has been the ZooNation show.
Yeah.
ZooNation.
All of them.
ZooNation.
I feel like Zoo has literally like supported my whole journey in the UK.
So talk to me about that. What have you done with them? How did that come about?
Well, I feel like it's so funny. I feel like, and it comes back to you.
Oh, stop it, you.
No, I'm serious because...
Me, you say?
well.
Little old me.
No, because so basically the first thing that ever happened with Zoo is Message in the Bottle, which is quite interesting.
Okay, and do you just briefly explain what it is? What's Message in the Bottle?
So Message in the Bottle is now like so we just did like a West End show for about a month, and it's a new show that's supported by Sadler's Wells and Kate Prince is choreographing it.
Yeah.
And us dancers are under ZooNation.
Okay.
And yeah, it's a brand new show with all the Stings music.
Okay.
And it's the whole piece is about like refugees. And yeah, it's like a very, very incredible, like emotional story that goes through a massive journey. And it's inspired by a lot of like documentaries that we researched from like people from Syria and stuff like that. But basically the whole piece is like, it's not really about a certain place, you know. Those were like materials given to us for us to understand where we can draw from emotionally. And I think where like Kate was really influenced by like her choices in, I think, not just a story, but again, I think the emotional side, you know, the emotional journey for the characters. And it's about like three characters that are a family. So like three siblings. And it's kind of like their journey and you follow their stories throughout the show.
Okay.
So yeah, I was lucky enough to be a part of that, and that happened super luckily because of the fact that basically Tally just messaged me out of nowhere, and I think she said she heard me through you.
Okay.
Yeah, and she couldn't do the residency. Yeah, the research and development. And then I think she suggested me as one of the dancers, and luckily, yeah, Kate said, "Come join." And so I was in the first stage of the R&D. No,
at this point,
second. Yeah.
So at that point, was there a promise of being in the show, or was it just come and do the R&D?
Yeah, just R&D. And sorry, I think it was the second one. So they already done that first one.
Okay.
And the second one, I was invited to come join
and kind of take Tally's spot, or
yeah, I mean, I don't know like what her involvement was in it. I'm guessing that's what, obviously that's what would have been. But I like at that point there was like not really like spots, if that makes sense. She was just like creating on bodies.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like, oh, this is Tally's character. It was just.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Yeah, so that was really cool, and from there on, like it was really cool because like I really love the way Kate creates because she really draws always from the story. And I love, again, like I just love acting in my dancing, even if it's physical, whatever it is, you know. So I felt like I really just enjoyed doing her stuff, and she's also like very intricate, which I'm like, yes, this suits me. And I just had like no expectation. Again, I was just like, this is such a cool like moment. I love, you know, being a part of the creative process. And then after that, it kind of just kept going. I went I think after that I must have done, I'm trying to think all the other stuff that I'd done. I feel like I did Everybody's Talking About Jamie.
Okay.
There's a movie that they're doing. So yeah, I was in the R&D for that.
Is that with ZooNation?
Yes, yeah. And just like other ZooNation stuff, I did like a random gig with them as well. That was, I can't remember what it was for. It was like I think it was like, I can't remember. But it was like, it wasn't like a show or anything. It was like a
job.
I'm trying to come up with the word and I can't remember. Corporate, there we go.
Right, okay, right,
yes,
corporate.
There we go. And then I believe it was Slip Hop.
Nice.
Yes, which was a whole different experience for me.
Okay. In what way? Stressful?
Like I just didn't have that foundation, you know? So it was really hard for me to like understand a lot of what these styles required foundation wise, and like I had a little bit of those foundations because, you know, in Australia we get trained. When
you say like the stuff that the foundations that the styles require, like what sort of thing are we talking?
Well, like locking, popping, breaking, so basically like a lot of things in hip-hop.
But let's go down this road for a second. Outside of the, let's say like the strength for breaking and stuff like that, like is doing a locking routine any different from learning choreography?
Yeah.
In what way?
Because there is foundation within it, like, you know, like within any other genre, you know, there is that like foundation that, so, you know, when someone's like, and a muscle man here, and I'm like, sorry?
Oh, so it's more like the way they were teaching it involved knowing some stuff.
No, even like they would teach it in a sense that like you can understand, but me not understanding what that is meant to be, or like what that's meant to look like.
Right.
And also in that style, it's like, you know, with locking, it's not really about like, you know, with jazz, ballet, all of those styles, it's like, it's quite easy to see what's right and wrong, what's good and not meant to be like that. Yeah. But I felt like with locking, it was almost like, oh, it's your interpretation and it's so your own
it wasn't very like everybody learn and look like the teacher kind of thing.
No, there was like certain things that made sense like that, you know, that they required, which was like, make sure that your muscle man has like this shape because it's going to be more effective to the audience.
Yeah.
Fair. That makes sense. So, but besides that, it was like,
when they kind of left you to interpret it how you want.
Yeah. And I think it's like trying to understand like that groove was like, oh, and everyone had a very different way of doing it. So I was really confused, but I did understand it at the end, and then I feel like I got ish there. And it was pretty interesting because then I like, it was so cool that I got to learn all these different styles and like understand the foundation. And you know, it's so funny because it's like you learn advanced stuff straight away. You're not just sitting there like learning how to like, I don't know, just do like do
beginners classes kind of thing.
Yeah, so it was quite interesting and just kind of thrown into the deep end.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, because I think I don't know. I think if I was doing something like that, I would just teach it movement wise and just be like, copy how this is supposed to be, I guess.
That is literally what happened.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think me personally, I was like, I want to have respect towards, you know, that style. And like, I remember like asking like Idney and just being like, can you just like show me a few YouTube videos of like people that are really good so that I can kind of understand like what this is meant to be. And it was so nice.
Yeah, I
like,
guess it's hard without a reference to know what the end product.
Yeah.
Because also locking can look a bit random out of context.
Gotta say, yeah.
Yeah. What are they pointing at?
Yeah, like, what's happening with their hands? So is it open or closed? Are we holding onto an egg? I'm very confused.
Yeah, what's happening here? Yeah, fair enough.
It was cool. Because like in Australia, we just kind of get like, we get chucked, like we just randomly get like a few locking steps like chucked into like choreography and it's like we don't get the foundation. Yeah, so I mean a little bit, but it depends how you train, and I only got a very small amount of that training, you know. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of companies, especially here in the UK, that like if you're going back to the business stuff, I guess if you're reliable and you're like they've worked with you and they like working with you, they'll keep working with you, I guess, because it's like easier than hiring new people every project. And also if you know that person can do your stuff and you have a good relationship with them, you know. Yeah, it's interesting. So it's probably good that like after that first one it probably shows that you did a good job, that they keep asking you back. Hoping so, you know. No, they've been so amazing, and it's really good because I feel like they're just like they're super helpful as well, you know. And it's good because I feel like you always comes with like a good environment of people, you know, and I feel like that's hard. One of the hardest things to find on jobs is like when you can really find people that you can get along with and equally are as like talented, you know. So it was really cool to meet people like that as well. I mean, message in the bottle was but you know, sometimes you know, there are clashes, I guess, you know, sometimes. I mean, happens everywhere, but no, that's good though that you feel good about it and the cast were good and stuff like that. So I mean, the I guess the big news is that you're leaving. Thanks to Corona, you're pissing off again. Which is very sad. I know. So what's the deal with that? What's the whole like? Why are you here? First of all, why are you here? Because you were for the lockdown, you were back in Japan. And you went back knowing that the lockdown was about to happen, right? So then now, talk me through what's the deal now. You're back now for how long? I think I'm back here for like maybe like 10 more days or something like that. Well, that'll be, what day are we now? I don't really know. Monday, because this will come out on Saturday, so you'll be leaving shortly after that. So I am here because luckily a dance camp in Czech Republic wanted me to still, you know, teach at their camp. So then I kind of used that opportunity to come back to London. And because like I had to move all my stuff out of my room and get before someone lockdown. In during lockdown. It was so stressful, and I felt so bad for like my roommates because also my other roommate is from Canada and he did the same thing. He was like, I feel like being locked in a house, like in a tiny apartment with 3 of us would be like insane. And you know, we're both from like I think like, you know, small towns with like lots of nature, so like, and you want to go back and see family and stuff as well. Exactly. I was like, if I'm gonna have this much time, then I want to make sure that like I got to spend that time with family. So I'm really happy with that decision. But basically my lease was up in like June or something, and they're like, you need to find someone else, or you need to like sign on another year. And I was like, well, fuck, I'm not doing that because who knows what's going to happen in the future. And I would have already applied for another visa to stay, and hopefully that would have meant that I would have just gone back to Australia for like a month to do my immigration and come back straight away. But because of Corona, I had to just like immigration was basically closed, and there was like I just saw no point in trying to do this right now. So I just decided to lease my find someone else to sign my lease over.
Yeah.
And I had my incredible roommate just like move everything out of my room. He packed everything, and look, I swear to God, I would have never packed my stuff that well. I was like, what do you mean? He was like, he was like, your piggy bank has now been sorted.
Oh wow.
It's like he had it in like different bags, like a penny. Like,
that's so cute.
I'm like, you're so amazing. And he like put it in my roommate's room, who's in Canada.
Right,
so now, like, because he's gonna come back at the end of this month, so I'm just gonna move everything out, put my stuff somewhere, and hopefully just wait until I come back.
So now you're going back to Japan because your visa's up?
Yeah, 15th of August is when I'm out. Well, I'm out on the 13th, and it expires on the 15th. So
okay,
I'm gonna go back to Japan. Yeah,
with a plan to come back, or
would love to. Yeah, so much.
But you're just gonna kind of wait it out and see what happens with the whole Corona stuff.
Yeah, totally. And just because going back to Australia is gonna be like a whole thing, because they're in like apparently lockdown for a year.
Yeah.
So I don't really know what's gonna happen, and
stress. I
want to see what's gonna I want to see how the UK is going at that time, and seeing if like people are starting to like work again.
Are you like minus Corona, are you able to work in Japan usually?
I've never really had like that's the only place, which is really weird, like that I've really tried to have a dance career.
Do you think you will now?
I'm gonna try.
Yeah. Like, would you have like people come to your class and stuff there?
Like, I feel surprisingly so. There was when I taught that once. So I'm gonna try again. Hopefully I will. I mean, like, like N dance and stuff usually has people that already come. So there's just a few dancers that will kind of take random classes. Yeah. So I'll try and like, build up some stuff there. But yeah, it's like it's quite difficult, because I think Japanese dance community is like quite hard to get into, I heard.
Okay.
And I don't live in the city. I'm like 2.5 hours away. So that's always really hard, and costs a bit of money to get there. And, it's not like I'm always there. So, it's like, it would be the same. It's like if I wasn't in central London, it would be a lot harder.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Fair enough.
So we'll see what happens.
Damn.
I know.
So how are you feeling about your 2 years in the UK overall? Happy?
So happy.
Yeah?
Yeah. I love the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like I really connect with the artists. I feel like I have really good conversations with people. And I find it really interesting because, a lot of people in the UK like start around the age of like 16 and stuff. I feel like that's like a pretty common story that I hear. They're like, oh yeah, I went to college when I was like 16 kind of thing. Started dancing when I was like 15, 16. I'm like, wow, like that's so different from what I've grown up with, because Australia's like dance culture is very different. Like a lot of people start from like 3, 5, when I started at 6 as well. So I feel like there's like a different element of dance in London, and I feel like that's taught me a lot, because I feel like people view dance differently, because I think with dancing from such a young age, it's like a blessing and also like a curse at the same time, because you're so molded in foundation. It's great, but it's like you really have to try and like strip it away to really understand who you are.
Right.
So it's been really cool to see like dancers who are more like raw and really dance from like a unique place, and seeing their journey, because it's so different from what you would take as a trained artist. I mean, everyone is trained, but from such a young drilled training. Yeah. So
like institutionalized training, I'd say.
Yeah. And we almost have like all the same, well, it's not all the same, but the foundations are relatively similar. Yeah, that's been really cool. And I'm really happy with what I've been able to do here. And it's been, I think
people
really
have
cool.
received you well, it seems like.
Yeah,
There's been
I hope so.
Aside from that time when you had one person in your class, but like but for the most part, people have been happy to see you teach. You've been asked, you've been hired for stuff. Like in 2 years you've had a better career than some dancers I know that have been here their whole life. And it's like, but I think this is such a thing as well. Like I know a lot of dancers that are in London that are successful that don't come from London. And I think there's some aspect of you come here with a mentality like I've got to hustle, like I've got to make it. I'm here for a reason. I can't like go back home and not have done anything. So whereas I think if you grow up here and it's your home city, you feel a bit of comfort and you're like, oh, there's no rush. I'll get to it when I get to it kind of thing. Or
it's true.
Yeah. So I feel like that's why we have a lot of people who are successful in the dance scene who aren't like.
Yeah. I feel like having that 2-year like time limit did make me like put a lot of like career first kind of decisions, although I really tried not to. But I feel like, but it was great because all those decisions ended up being a lot of fun, and I would take it because I'm like, I'm having a lot of fun doing this, and I was really blessed with like what I was doing, and I got to travel and stuff like that. So it was so awesome. But I did try and also like have this mentality of like, I felt like there was a lot of people kind of wanting me like, oh, you're gonna have to like get a job, like get a normal job to be able to like support yourself in London, like just be
Is that
prepared.
what people said?
Like I felt like over and over and over.
I never said that to you.
Yeah, remember that one person moment was like, I remember you actually sending me a message and saying, but one day I can't wait that we're gonna reflect back on this and laugh about it.
Really?
Yeah.
When what happened?
When that one, like when I had a class of one person.
That's mad. And now and here we are.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and remember this.
But I think also like and I'm not saying this in a way of like, I knew you'd succeed, but like, it's really obvious when you're not the person. Like if I was you, I'd probably be just as worried the whole time as you were. You know what I mean? But like from the outside, it's like, even just talking to you, the more we got to know each other, it's like, you see someone's mentality. I saw your work. Like I saw how you present yourself, how you speak, like where your mind was at. And I'm like, you'll be fine. Like there's some people
that's what you said to me. And I was like, you don't know that.
Yeah, but it's way easier also for me to say from the outside because I'm not living it.
Yeah, of course.
But I think there's just, especially because I feel like not so much the commercial scene of London, but just the kind of climate of London. I feel like I know a bit in terms of the dance scene. And I'm like, I remember I was saying to you, do you remember we were in that, I can't remember the like sushi place. And I was saying,
No, the other one, the red one.
I don't know.
The one that I don't really like.
Anyway, sorry, I took you there.
It's fine. The gyoza was good.
Gyoza's always good. I was saying like, I remember saying like, I know who your people are, but you just haven't met them yet.
Yeah, I remember you saying
And it's like, you can always I'm like, I know like the sort of people you're going to end up, being close with, because I know like I said, I know the climate and I knew you. So I was like, I'm sure it, provided nothing goes horrifically wrong, you'll be fine. I'm glad. And I definitely don't think that's the case, that you always have to get a second job or whatever. I think I hate when people say that, because it's like, what sort of shitty advice is that, man? Like you can say, here's how, like, that's an option, or here's, what do you want to do? If you want to, I mean, this also involves thinking about the business side of dance, but it's like, I always talk about this thing with people that are like, how do I do this? And it's like, if you want to make it as a dancer, you can. Here's how to do it. If you aren't prepared to do any of these things, then you might have to get a job. You know what I mean? If you're not prepared to do the auditions, do the work that you don't want to do, market yourself, learn to use social media or whatever. If you're like, well, I don't want to do that. I just want to teach my classes and not advertise them. It's like, okay, well, then you might have to get a job. But I mean.
No, it was really interesting because like, when I heard that, I remember making a very conscious decision thinking, well, that's, I really appreciate like their guidance and their, their thoughts of, obviously it's coming from a place of like trying to look after me. At the same time, just saying to myself, like, that's their reality. It doesn't have to be mine.
No,
like,
100%.
Doesn't have to. And I remember like just thinking to myself, and even when I think I was at Onyx and I was like getting interviewed and him asking me, Dane was saying like, what is your goal for, being in London? And I remember saying like, and, I feel like it always helps when you say it out loud, and just saying like, I want to try and have a career in London, like from where I left off in Australia, and continue that path. Like, I don't want to feel as though I have to like go backwards in a sense.
Yeah.
You know, I want to see if I can keep my mentality and see if I can almost convince myself that that's possible and that I can, if I maybe just believe in that myself, maybe everyone else will buy it, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
That almost is always the case.
Yeah.
That if you believe something, that it's gonna like, not that it's just gonna happen, but yeah, it's like it informs the way you move and the way you do anything, and then it kind of comes true.
Yeah, and it's really scary because then I went off that mentality and I made decisions deliberately, even though it was the scariest thing. I would say no to things that I felt wasn't along the line of my purpose.
Yeah.
And it was so scary because I'm like, I don't know where my money's going to come from if I say no to this.
Yeah.
But I just said no because I knew that's not what I wanted to do. So if I take on that job, maybe it gives me money, but it's not in line with what I want to do. That's not what I want to progress in, you know? So it was really scary, but I just kind of like went for it and to see like if it worked, and you know, most of the time it worked and it was awesome. So yeah, I don't know, it's so good, and I feel like I've learned so much from being in the UK because I feel like there's just so much art.
That's nice to hear.
I
think we spend a lot of time complaining about like we're complaining about our own city, which everyone does when you're from the place.
Yes.
But it's nice to hear from someone outside that it's like that you enjoyed it and that it's a nice place, and you know, it kind of reminds you there is a lot to appreciate about not just the city, but you know, the dance scene. And I think lockdown's done that for me. Like as well, is like I'm kind of missing things that I thought I was done with, you know, like like right now I'd fucking love to go battle. Like I thought I didn't give a shit about that, but it's
cool.
It's different when you've got one every week as opposed to when there hasn't been one for 4 months, and now you're like, oh, I actually do kind of like that in my life, you know.
I know what I mean.
But yeah, so that's nice to hear from you. You found everyone to be nice, and like, I mean, you don't have to name them if you didn't, but but like like generally everyone was nice to you, welcoming.
So nice. And I felt like it was really cool because I felt like in London, you know, lots of people come and go. So I think when you find that genuine like connection with someone, I felt like it was a very like deep connection. And I don't know, I just really liked the conversations that I had, and I felt like there was this, there was just like, maybe London, just, I mean, the UK in general and Europe, like I think there's like a very long history of art. So it's really cool to hear the appreciation of art as well.
Well, I guess also it comes from us just having a longer history than maybe places like America and Australia.
Yeah.
But you have places like Japan and stuff like that where it's like the longer the country has been established, or
it's quite interesting. I actually find the UK almost the middle ground between Japan and Australia, because it's really interesting, right? Because like I feel like there's that like sophistication, you know, but there's also like that awesome like raw organic laid backness, like that very like friendly, very approachable.
I feel like I'm hearing you describe a city I've never been to. Like, I'm like, London? You're talking about London all this time?
Really?
No, but that's crazy, like to see your perspective on that.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah, but it's really cool, and then it also made me really appreciate Australia and Japan at the same time. You know, especially Australia, because I spent a lot longer as an artist there. And I realized how unique we are because we're such a fresh country, and I love it. It's like, it's so cool. We just like really fucking go for it. And it's like, we're kind of developing a whole different culture and a whole new style of dance because we're just like super new, and, you know, it has a very different style to the rest of the world, being so isolated from the world. So it was really cool. Like it made me understand dance on a whole nother level, just going somewhere else, and, you know, not just within the UK, going to different countries in Europe and seeing how different the dances are. Yeah. Whoa, it's so cool. Yeah. Yeah,
there is quite a difference between each country and the scenes, I guess, if you think about it that way.
Yeah, you really feel it in teaching as well, because you feel the difference in like reactions and yeah.
That's interesting.
It's pretty cool.
All right, I'm going to freestyle a couple of questions for you and just give me your first answer.
All right, let's go cypher.
Best or happiest memory from your time in London?
Oof.
Or like highest moment?
In London?
Yeah. Oh. Like let's say in these last 2 years since you've been here. Like it can be in another country, but in the last 2 years.
I feel like I gotta say, like, I know this sounds a little bit like maybe a bit self-indulgent.
No, go on.
But I gotta say, seeing myself on the poster all over the tube was like fucking
That
cool.
was for ZooNation?
Yeah, message in the bottle. Like everywhere. And
that made me think of our conversations at the beginning when you were like, I don't know if I'm going to, like, it's going to be hard and blah, blah, blah. And then just being worried. And then I'm like, this girl went from knowing no one to within like a year and a bit, like you're the main like poster all in the underground for the show. How
insane is that? Like,
that's crazy.
Like even getting the email from like settlers and like seeing myself on the email signature, I'm like, what do you mean?
Yeah. That's sick.
That was sick. And just seeing myself, I was like, and trying to act cool, like trying to
just
take
walking
a video.
past it. Yeah, no, that's just me again.
It's so weird. That was really cool. Yeah.
Okay, so like that whole process of seeing yourself, that's probably your like.
That was like one of the most like.
Yeah.
Holy fuck! Like Oxford Circus as well. I was like.
Yeah, that's yeah, and that's not. I think the other things that make that cool is that that's not like a small thing. Like that is big for anyone, you know.
Yeah.
And like not to sound, I don't know, away, but you deserved it, if you know what I mean. Like
you.
it wasn't like, and I mean, yeah, this is just how Japanese of you. She just bowed, guys, who are listening. But no, like it wasn't like, oh, you got a lucky break, or it was like they just happened.
A little bit like that.
Well, yes and no. Like you got a lucky break in the sense that people knew you, but they chose you for a reason, and you went through a R&D process where if you weren't up to standard, they wouldn't have kept you. So you earned it, you know.
Yeah. Maybe they just like the photo and then they're like, well, we gotta put her in the show now. It'll be so funny. Can you imagine?
Because the photo shoot was before they announced the cast.
Yeah.
They're like, oh we want to use the picture, but we can't not hire her after this. That would be funny.
That would be hilarious.
Although I know, like, I mean, I swear business wise, like people would just do that. They'd be like, yeah, sorry, we're not going to use you, but we're going to use your picture.
Oh, true. Yeah. That would be the thing. Yeah.
Okay, so that's highest moment. Can we talk about lowest moment?
Oh,
what would be your...
God, where do I begin?
Where did you feel like the worst or felt like things weren't going to work out or just generally shit?
I gotta say it's probably like recently.
Okay.
It was just like I went through a lot of... is it that one? I don't know. Let's just talk about this one.
Yeah.
I just felt like everything was kind of just like... There was just so many things that kept happening that just... I felt very out of control with. So like when I was doing Slip Hop just before... what is it called? The press night?
Yeah.
No. It's like the second performance or something crazy on the tour. I sprained my ankle going down the stairs. And that was so
not even dancing.
sad. No.
Yeah.
The first 8 or something.
Yeah, yeah.
That was it. And then they had to like stop the show for me. And it was horrible. That was like a horrific experience. And then I had to like rehab for the whole time they were on the tour. And I missed press night and I remember sitting there in tears and being like, all right, well, message in the bottle, press night, let's go. Damn. You know?
Yeah. And
then I think straight after that, like I started message, which was great. And I felt like I had my hopes up again. Then Battle Opera happened. Yeah. The cancellation.
So this was all in one period.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And then I was like...
I do remember you being like mad down at that time.
Mate, I was like, what do you want me to do, universe? Like,
yeah.
How am I meant to stay positive? Then I was like, you know, the worst thing is like, I just had a lot of like roller coaster of like shit, like, you know, shit was just happening. But then I just like listen to heaps of like podcasts that were like uplifting. And I was like, all right, motivation, let's go. And then I was like trying to pick myself back up. Then something else would happen. And it was just a constant of that. And then after that, I injured myself again, and then I couldn't do press night again. For this
different show?
Yes.
Holy shit.
So then I had to go through that whole process. And then a week before we started the tour for the European tour for Message in the Bottle, Corona happened. Fuck. And then I had to go home. And,
did you feel better being at home though? Did that relieve a lot of it, or was it no?
I feel like, it did. I feel like surfing helped a lot.
Okay. Yeah.
You know?
Just like having something else to do and...
Yeah. Just completely and I think it was good in a sense because I had already given up the fear of like not dancing. So I don't really fear of that. Do you know what I mean?
So like getting injured and...
Or just like not dancing or like... Right. I don't really have this like stress. I try and not have this stress over me to be a dancer. Do you know what I mean? I'm like, if it comes,
you're a person who does dance.
Yeah. And if it's in my journey and it happens, like, that's so awesome.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I say this, but look, probably if it, you know, if I had to really like let go of it, I think I would struggle. But I don't really fear of like not training.
Yeah, I mean, there's a difference between like you're allowed to have a strong connection with it.
Yeah.
But it's also like understanding that you're an artist regardless of how you apply that. And
yeah. And like this stress of like, I must train, I have to keep up, and all this stress. Like I just really try to let go of that.
Nice.
So it was really nice to like just go home and surf and just like totally pick up something completely new. And it was great because then it teaches you life lessons. Like, yeah.
Well, it's funny because like a lot of people, the lockdown was their hardest point.
Yes.
But yours was like the hardest point, and then the lockdown helped you actually get out of that.
I mean, out of it, I don't know.
Okay,
it was like, lockdown was really rough for me actually.
Right.
Because it kind of like gave me a moment to kind of, I don't know, because it was like just so much, you know.
Yeah.
But I think being able to like reconnect with nature definitely did.
Nice.
Like, yeah, it helped me a lot.
Because where you live looks fucking beautiful.
It's so nice.
Yeah.
So nice. And oh my God, my cat, I feel like she healed me. She's so cute.
Yeah. Sick.
Yeah, it was really nice.
An unexpected friend that was like a highlight of the last 2 years.
The last 2 years?
Yeah, someone that you met here or on your travels or something that was like, oh shit, I didn't expect to meet someone that I was like.
Oh, yeah. I think like excluding you because that was
thanks.
completely that, you
know,
like.
That was very random.
Yeah. That connection from Canada. Hilarious. Is amazing. I think if anything, I owe my biggest thanks to this guy, Daniele Sibili, from Italy. And he was so sick. Like I met him at Dance Adventures. And he was one of the faculties, and I literally went to that workshop with no expectation. I didn't even check who was teaching, and we got picked out at the end of the class, and I was like went over to like introduce myself, and he was very confused because I was like, "What's your name?" And he's like, "I'm Daniele, I'm teaching." And I was like, "Oh shit, I'm so sorry."
Yeah.
But he then like offered me to like come to Italy like on a scholarship, and like from then on, like, yeah, that was amazing. Like the connection that we've built since then. And I've now seen him in like 4 different countries. We did a contract together in Belgium, and like we keep reconnecting, and he is also like my biggest inspiration. And as a person, you know, it's like, I think that's again like sometimes difficult to find. It's people who are talented yet also like I'm so inspired by who they are as a person. So because that's the thing as well. Sometimes you connect with people. This is why I found this a lot in my life, where it's like you have people that you connect with artistically, or you look up to them and you're like, oh, they're an amazing artist, but then you meet them and they're a dick. Or like, it's so disappointing. Yeah, or the opposite. It's like with all the love in the world, like you might have friends who you love, but you're just like, you're not. Yeah. Not that you're not on my level in the sense of you're not good enough, but just you're doing something different with your life. We're not on the same wavelength. Like, you might be a dancer and we hang around because of dance, but you don't want to be professional. So it's like, I love you as a person, but you don't give me that inspiration to push, or we can't have the same conversations because I'm on a different track than you. And then you meet people that are both, and you're like, you're a person that I can hang out with. I feel like this about you. Not just saying that. You too, though, honestly. Stop honestly. It, you. No, but like, you get someone that you can like just chill and talk shit about and talk shit with and just have food and watch a movie, and you get on great. But then also like you see the stuff that they're doing and you're like, holy fuck, like I need, like, you know, I need to go and create something, or you can ask them for stuff. I love having friends like that. I mean, totally. I think everyone I've had on the podcast has been that to me, you know, like, I'm trying to think back. So maybe there's someone that I want to, maybe not Kieran. No, I'm joking. I was just thinking, who can I cuss? No, but like it's great when you have that, where you have like a good artist, but also someone that you connect with. And I think like a big thing for me with people like that is also something that I really found amazing about Daniele was like how much he wanted me to grow and to be like seen. Like he was so amazing with that. He really wanted me to be and I don't know, that again is quite hard to come by, you know? So it was really amazing to meet people like that. And, you know, there's so many people that I could actually say this about, but I think because, him, I had like one of my longest relationship with, in sense of like we shared a lot of random moments together, and it's just like laughable.
Nice.
Yeah. And like I think I'm about to go see him again in September in a
amazing.
random camp, and like it's so cool. So
that's great when you build those friendships and they kind of last no matter where you are. And
it is really cool. But yeah, like I could honestly sit here and like name so many people. I think like there wasn't many that I didn't feel like that.
Oh, that's nice to hear. So
yeah,
let's do a couple more before we finish. Biggest mistake that you've made while you've been here? What's happened that you've been like, fuck, I wish I didn't do that?
I remember when I was like trying to get my visa for, oh no, it was me trying to go to Ukraine. And I didn't know that so you know how it's like EU or something? Like it's in the EU, but it's not in the EU.
Right.
It's really random. So apparently that means that as an Australian passport holder, I have to have a visa to get in. So I was really stressed. It was like literally 2 nights. I thought I was so organized. I was meant to be leaving on Sunday. I look at my flights on Friday and I'm like, oh, let's be organized. Let's, plan ahead. And then I read this little thing that's like, you need to make sure you have a visa. And you have to apply for it like 19 days before. I'm like, no. And then I'm like researching everything. And then I find out that apparently like I can go with like another passport. And it was just basically like, yeah, I just wish I researched a little bit more. And I nearly didn't get to go, but I was able to go. So it's like, yeah, that was a bit rough.
Well, yeah, it turned out all right in the end, I guess.
Yeah, so make sure you read through stuff, Kino.
Yeah. And let's go one more. What would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned that you're going to kind of utilize moving forward in your career?
Well, that's interesting.
More like, specifically dance or career-wise, as opposed to like...
In the UK, like from like my 2 years.
What have you learned here that you're like, oh, that's changed the way I look at this, or that's going to inform my path going forward?
That's a nice question. I feel like it's just like
be careful on press night.
Right.
Or before press night.
Stop injuring yourself. I think believing in myself and knowing that if you have that mentality of being so sure of like who you are as an artist, then that is a universal language. Having a good purpose is a universal language. And I think that's something that I want to keep improving and keep working on, is like how to keep serving. I think that's been one of my biggest lessons. And I think researching that and seeing how it was so well received made me realize that that is one of the biggest tactics. That is not a tactic. Do you know what I mean? Right. It's like I could have thought of anything under the sun to try and make my career work, and then I just realized it's really simply comes down to how I can serve others, and I felt like that spoke the loudest out of anything.
Nice. That's really nice to hear. I think also it is a tactic in a way, because it's like what's I think a lot of the times really important in business and stuff is understanding your why. Like, why do I do this? What's my base level need from this thing? Is it to express? Is it to serve? Is it to make money? What is the base thing? And if that's your base thing, it's going to inform all your other decisions and give you a lot clearer of a path onto why. I think that's a lot of the problem with people where they don't have a why. They just do it because. And then it's like you're never going to have as strong of a message if you're just moving from that place. Yeah,
and I feel like you have a bigger sense of responsibility, or you feel like I found it much easier to be motivated or to be more passionate when I wasn't making it all about myself, if that makes sense. Like I felt like when I put other people first, and it made me want to teach better. It made me want to dance better. It made me want to work harder for my choreographers and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Do you know what I mean? Because I'm like, if I think about me, then I felt like I got really caught up in my own insecurities and my own doubts. But when I was thinking about like just trying to serve that message, then I would just kind of give in and just be like,
that's amazing. Yeah. And it's really interesting how we're all so different, because I think one of the things I was just thinking about that I've made a big change of is I've started thinking more about myself.
Nice.
And whereas I never used to. And I think obviously we're all different, complicated people, but I think one of my biggest problems or obstacles, I guess, was I was always worrying about what other people thought.
Gotcha. Okay.
Are they like, is there any point in me applying for this thing? Is there any point in me starting a podcast? Like, are people going to listen? Like, this was all the doubts in my mind. No one's going to listen, like, blah, blah.
Yeah.
As soon as I started thinking, like, even one, like the podcast is a great example because it's quite concrete, but it just reflects on my bigger decision, I guess.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't care if people listen. This is for me. And like, as soon as I framed it in that way of my mind, is like, I want to record conversations. I want to record my thoughts. I want to put these things down or out into the world for me. Yeah. It made it way easier of a decision of like, oh, well, of course I'll start a podcast then. As opposed to like, oh, well, what if I start it and people don't listen? It's like, well, are you still doing the things that you set out to do, which is recording your thoughts, like speaking with your friends and having, you know, making memories and stuff like that. All those reasons are still there when I think about myself, you know, and now when I create art or my career path, it's like, I don't care what people are telling me to do, what is the right or wrong answer, you know, like what you're saying about getting a job or like, it doesn't, my path now only has to answer to myself, which for me is like what I needed. Cool. And it's kind of in the same way that you taking out that aspect has like unlocked stuff for you. Me putting that aspect in and taking the opposite aspect out has like unlocked loads for me. And now like a lot of my insecurities and anxieties and stuff in the same way have disappeared.
That's so cool.
You know, to the most to a certain extent.
Yeah, but that's really cool because in a sense I feel like when you explain that and when you're worried about like other people's judgment, it is actually you are being more self-critical and maybe a bit more self-indulgent because you're then thinking about everyone else's reaction towards you.
Yes.
And you're like, it's actually coming back to, again, your insecurity. So then therefore you're again being self-indulgent.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It's like, I want to be received well as opposed to I want to do something well.
Exactly. Yeah. And then it's like, you probably then would think about like the whole podcast thing and you would think probably about maybe like, and it's cool for other people to hear, you know? So it's like, I feel like it's very similar mentality, but it's like a very different approach. And I think that's so cool because it's like, like you said, everyone has a very different approach, you know?
Yeah, I think that's definitely a message to, if you're listening, is to know your why.
Anyone out there?
Anyone listening? So I will say that our camera definitely died a good 10-15 minutes ago. Cool. Which is all good. Nice. No one can see me picking my nose. So yeah, apologies if you're watching on YouTube. I think a lot of people do, but it's all good.
Sweet.
We're still here. We still look beautiful. Thank you, Kino, for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's been so cool. I've watched a few and it's been really nice. Like the one you sent me with everyone talking about lockdown. Yeah, actually really helped me, hey. Like just hearing everyone's different like approach to it, you know, like just listening to like even like Spin being like, oh yeah, I just like watched every single Game of Thrones episode. I'm like, yes, cool, I'm not the only one.
Oh, that's really nice. Yeah, that was that took a long time to like get everything together and edit and stuff. That was a lot of footage, so I'm happy if people liked it.
It was really good.
Yeah, super appreciate you for being here and talking.
Thank you.
And I'm going to keep them up every week as much as I can. As always, thanks. I'm going to try. As always, if you're listening, try and like and subscribe and stuff. I've said this so many times and I know people won't listen, but I get so many people giving me feedback in person or on Insta DMs or something.
Oh my God, I'm really that person. I'm doing it now. I'm so sorry.
No, but they'll be like, oh, I really like the podcast. They'll message me to say like, oh, I really like the podcast. And you know, I just thought it was like this and maybe you should try that. And I'm like, write it on the YouTube video. Like if the more people like and engage and stuff like that, the more it's going to, like,
of course,
you know, that's the currency in this kind of scope, I think. So yeah,
you
guys,
have a very good podcast voice. Just
do I?
Yeah,
I feel like I get insecure about my voice, but who cares?
No, it's great. Keep going.
Thanks, mate.
Nice.
These are the soothing tones of Luke Lentis.
So good.
So yeah, like and comment. You don't have to subscribe, but if you want to see them when they come out, then do.
Yes.
Tune back in every week. Let me know if you have any suggestions or people that I should speak to. And yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in. And hopefully see you next week. I don't think there's anything else I need to say. This one we shot at home, so I don't have any sponsors to thank or anything like that. If you want to sponsor me, please do that.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's wrap it up. Thanks, Kino.
Thank you.